Hey, everybody, this is Doug Basham, and you are listening to Live and in Color with Sir Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. And today we've got a very special
Hey. What are you doing?
Oh, hey. Dude.
You forgot that I was on here or something? I mean, what's the deal?
Oh my God, y'all. Wolfie D is back. Who's back?
And this
back again.
My name on it, so I'm supposed to be introducing the shit, bro.
Okay, do it your way. Go
I'm just fucking with you. You did a fine job there, Jimmy. Yeah. But yes, I am back.
And everybody, he's feeling better. We got good work. What was funny is by the time the show dropped, because we do record ahead, everybody knows that. The show dropped, he was fine. But, you weren't feeling good, man. It's all good. We got it done. Randy is a great special guest host, so.
I appreciate Randy for filling in for me there.
Yeah, definitely. So let me ask the listener on this one, have we top 10'd y'all to death yet?
Good, because me and Jimmy discussed that actually of what we were going to do. Every week it's all right, what are we doing next week? What are we doing? Yeah. Who can we get? Who do we want to get?
Who we got?
We say no to.
Yeah. Look in your Rolodex. So what's funny is when we're trying to do a show, Wolfie will say like, hey, let's do this. I'll be like, okay, great. Let's do that. And then also I'll be like, maybe could we talk to him? If you talk to him, you're like, I don't really know that guy. Or maybe let's see how it goes. And so sometimes I just have to text him or mail him or email him or whatever and shoot my shot with him. But the top 10 deal, basically it was over the holidays and we want to keep our top 10s because those are very popular. Thank y'all for listening to them as much as you listen to the other shows and the guests and all that. But, over the holidays, it was difficult to get somebody because everybody's doing their own thing and busy with their family. So we went top 10 heavy. But, I think the next few people, if it all comes through, the next few people we've got are some stellar episodes. So,
yeah. And today is no different.
Exactly. Tell them who we got, Wolfie D.
Oh, man, my buddy Doug Basham. Haven't talked to him in many, many years or seen him. And we go way back. So this should be a good one. He's been around, done some stuff, man. Hell, I mean, in WWE did more than I did. So he's got some good stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Should be fun, man. Should be fun.
Yeah, well, the one thing is that dude has done, but y'all have very similar careers, you've done a lot of the same places, maybe not in the same ways. He is an actual legit nephew of Danny Davis. Yeah. So I want to
played a huge part in developing my in-ring work.
Yeah. So there you go, Yeah.
I always put Danny over.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to get out of the way here before we go to Doug is a couple weeks ago, we did top 10 greatest finishers. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we had a listener put on Twitter, Mac. His name is Macaronin, and he is at Hizudi Mizark. He's awesome. He shares our stuff all the time. Yeah. He talks. He's very active with us on Twitter. Him, Eddie Austin, Wayne G, who's the #1 Eddie Gilbert expert. Eddie Austin is the #1 Jerry Lawler, Elvis Presley expert. So it's awesome, dude. We have some great people on there. There's a lot of other guys on there too that really help us out, but those three guys really stand out. Yeah. And he asked us this question. I'm sure Eddie's probably asked the same question to himself. He's just more, polite about it, I guess. But he said, how in the hell did we miss Jerry Lawler's pile driver on the top 10 greatest finishers?
Yeah, it was one that I was a lot. Like I said, I could probably do a whole nother list and it would be completely different. It was just at the moment and the way I was thinking, and I didn't miss it. I was like, I don't know if all these other ones are more impressive to me. And yes, Lawler gives a great pile driver, probably the best one in business. Yeah. But I feel like I've also in these other top 10s put Lawler up over so much. You know,
right.
And he's right, man. In a way, it probably deserves to be on there. But also at the same time, Lawler couldn't do a pile driver without getting disqualified. So it wasn't even in Memphis. It wasn't even a legal move back then. You know, you couldn't throw people over the top rope and you couldn't pile drive.
Right.
So maybe that was part of my thinking. But yeah, man, we deserve a how in the hell on that one, I
reckon. Anyway, it was almost immediate too. It was like that Monday.
How come you didn't?
I mean, I didn't, bro. I missed it. You know?
No, but why?
Why?
Yeah.
I think in the same direction with you, man. I thought of my list and I went over my list again. I'm like Santa Claus on a top 10 list here, checking his list, checking it twice, whatever. Anyway, I just feel like I just didn't put it on there. Yeah. I mean,
is it one of my favorite moves? You know, it really is. It's always been one of my favorite moves because of Jerry Lawler.
Totally.
And it's one that I think I give a shitty pile driver. So I never really used it a lot. Also being in Memphis, some people might have the balls to do it, but I never used it. And plus, like I said, again, it was an illegal maneuver. So
yeah,
I just never used it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, here's the thing. You either give a safe one or you shouldn't give one, right? I mean, that's the two options, right?
I can get a safe one. I just don't like the way it looks.
No, and I don't mean you can't. I'm just talking about if you're talking with a worker and he's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna do the pile driver," like, or can you do that?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, well, it was just a question, and I thought we should start the show with that.
Yeah, that's
because I wanted to do a little recap from a couple weeks ago. But anyway, yeah, the Randy show was a lot of fun. I will say this. Randy is a lot more intricate on his details than maybe you and I even are. In a lot of cases, I feel like probably I talk more. Here I am talking more.
Yeah.
But Randy's the king of that. And it's cool to have a guy like that on the show because he's a historian, you know, and you're an avowed non-historian, which is okay because you were doing, you know, let somebody else remember the details.
Right.
You did it. Exactly. So anyway, Randy was an awesome guest host and a lot of fun. And you know what? And I said this at the beginning. He did that on a moment's notice, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're like, bro, I do not feel good at all. I'm probably going to the emergency room, this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm thinking, and this is not like a thing that I've sat and pondered on, but I was like, man, Randy, I wonder if he'll do it. And you were like, text him, see what's up.
Yeah.
I'm not playing.
You would. He's good about that.
Yeah. He's like, I'm on Uber drive right now, but I will do it in a minute. And he had a top 10. He could have probably had a top 20. But anyway, on with the show, brother Wolfie.
Brother D, brother Wolfie D, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Sir Wolfie D.
Sir, everybody calls you that. It's funny, man.
That was the first name I used it as, and then I just dropped it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But apparently a lot of people did not drop it when I did. So
no, they love it. All
right. Well, let's get to it.
All right. We'll be right back after these messages with Doug Basham.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at Marines.com.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live It in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, folks, we're back with Live It in Color with Wolfie D. And as we mentioned earlier, got a special guest here today that I have not seen or talked to in years. Doug Basham. How are you, buddy?
Man, I am good, Wolfie. How are you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing well. So, man, let's tell the listeners. I know what got you in the business, I think. But what made you want to get into wrestling? Who was your influences?
Man, I'll tell you what. I've told this story a few different times because when I do the podcast, that's the $1 million question.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first question usually they ask.
Yeah.
And it's always the same. I was ever since I was old enough to turn the TV on and understand what I was looking at. I was 3 years old, and you probably have the similar situation, Wolf. I saw wrestling on TV, and my dad said I just stood there like right in front of the TV, right in the way. I go, "Oh, wait, boy," and I just sat there and just watching it.
Yeah.
And then my dad said every day when I woke up, I'd go turn the TV on and try to. Back in the day, man, you didn't have remotes. You had to actually get up and go turn the knob. Those old school with the rabbit ears, you had to stand a certain place with one leg up so you can get reception.
Yeah.
Some of these people don't know about that.
No, they don't. Yeah.
But he said, I was sitting there and I would try to turn the channel. And he's like, "Boy, what are you doing?" I'm like, Wrestling. I want to watch wrestling. So from that day forward, man, I was hooked and a fan of wrestling from 3 years old.
So
what made me?
What were you watching? Memphis?
It was the old school Mid-South stuff. That's all I could get.
Yeah,
that's all I could get when we were there because I lived in a little town called Henryville, Indiana.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of those towns, man, where you had to pump in the sunshine. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's BFE country. You had to run carpet out to the bathroom just so you could have something soft to walk on. So then, getting older, and like a teenager, 13, 14, 15, 16, I was watching Jarrett's USWA, and they would always advertise their wrestling school in Nashville. Uh-huh. And I'm like, oh man, Nashville, that's such a long ways away. And I'm kid, I've barely been out of my little town, let alone the state of Indiana,
Yeah.
I was pretty localized and stayed. I never went anywhere because I was a poor old farm boy working on a farm and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I was always interested, always wanted to do it, but I just never could get down to the wrestling school. And besides, Wolfie, back then, I was 6'2". I was 155 pounds. I mean,
right.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody would look at me and just take my money and throw me around and try and get rid of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like they used to do. Give me your money, beat you up, you're gone. But then, my aunt, she started dating Nightmare Danny Davis.
Right.
And then I was always a huge fan of tag team wrestling, period. And then it was the Nightmares. I was a fan of them because they were not real big. Yeah. They were just good in my eyes. I was a fan then, and I thought they were just entertaining. They were fun to watch. And then she started dating him, and I finally met him at a Christmas outing at my grandparents. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous to go up and talk to him. And man, I went up and introduced myself, and I was shaking like, "Oh, he's a star! I see him on TV. He's a star." I was starstruck. And I met him, and he was such a nice guy, and then and a sweetheart of a man. Yeah. And then he opened a wrestling school in Louisville, and the rest is yes, there you go. That's the rest. Now you know the rest of the story.
Yes, and man, let me tell you, I've put Danny over so much on this show, man. Talking to different people, and just Danny, didn't train me, but being married to him every night, working the Memphis loop. He taught me how to work. He really, really did, man. Of course, I could do the moves, but he taught me how to work, man. Calling shit on the fly. I'm 18, 19 years old. We're doing 15-minute Broadways, and he's not even blowed up, and I am. I'm 19.
Yeah. And Wolfie, it seems like I'm a head trainer in Ohio Valley Wrestling right now here in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah. And I teach the old school way. Al Snow owns OVW now. He purchased it from Danny Davis.
Right.
And I got back during the COVID and was helping out, and now I'm roped in. I'm all in 100% now. Mm-hmm. And I was taught by Danny, obviously, Jim Cornette, and then another big name, Rip Rogers.
Yeah.
And a lot I was taught by. Oh, I mean, you're not going to find a better trainer. I mean, around. He teaches wrestling. He teaches psychology and storytelling. And, and you mentioned something like you got to ride up and down the road with Danny, and you were married to him, and that's how you learned. Yeah. I think that's one thing that's missing in today, because there's no more. I think we were the last generation of guys like that. I think you and I. Yeah. And there's not a lot of us out there anymore teaching these kids how to do all this stuff, and they go out there and do a gymnastic routine now and not listen and call stuff on the fly. It's
the lost
crazy,
art,
man, the way it is today. Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
And that's the way I teach in OVW, man. I teach you to call it in the ring. I teach you how to work. Mm-hmm. I don't teach you how to wrestle. There's a difference between wrestling and working.
Oh, absolutely.
And I teach you how to work.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well, so I mean, we're talking on the Wolfie D show here. So was Danny Davis your introduction to the USWA? Is that how you started working there?
Yeah, absolutely. Danny was ready to start running. He had a school, and it was called the Nightmare Danny Davis School of Professional Wrestling. And he wanted to advertise his school. And one of the ways for him to advertise his school is to get one of the students out there on the airwaves. Yeah. Danny was smart. He was a businessman. He knew what he was doing. And, I'm not trying to, blow myself up or anything like that. But, I picked up on it really quick. Mm-hmm. Danny was very hands-on with me in my training, and he was not going to let me go anywhere or do anything until he knew I was ready, because his name was attached to me.
Right.
And then when he was ready and he didn't want me to get out there and yet, so he kept me pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Kept me protected, I guess. Yeah. Kept me unseen, I guess, until it was time. And then, and granted, I wasn't a very big guy. Well, if you remember when I first came in, I was skinny, scrawny, and all that. But the one thing I did have, I had training from Danny, and I had Danny's name attached to me, which helped me so much with other guys like Tommy Rich and you and Jamie and Buddy Landell and Dream Machine, Troy Graham, even Lawler and Dundee, even those guys, because I was Danny's nephew, they kind of looked out for me. Brian Christopher looked out for me and helped me. But for me to get, Danny helped get me in the USWA, called Randy Hales, and said he had a guy who'd like for him to look at. And I don't know if he said it would be a favor or whatnot. I don't think Danny would do that. I think he said, here, take a look at this, take a look at my nephew and see what you think. Mm-hmm. And then he may have talked to Lawler too. I don't know. But I got my shot, and I went out there and did the best I could with it.
Yeah, and I tell you, man, we were talking, still about Danny. I'd tell you, after I worked with him for, like I said, married to him every night, Jamie would work Ken Wayne, I'd work Danny, we'd come back in a tag, possibly with the midgets or whatever we were doing on, like a Buddy Wayne show. We'd work 3 fucking times, but still make the same shit. But at any rate, man, after
you got paid 3 different times, didn't you? You got paid for each time, right?
Man, he called me.
I work 3 times, I get paid 3 times, right?
Right? Exactly. Not my buddy Wayne, you ain't.
Yeah, I don't think so, kid. You're lucky to get paid at all. You're lucky for the experience.
Yeah. And so Danny calls me into his dressing room there in Louisville. And like I said, we've been working for months. And he called me in there, and I can't remember if he was fixing to take time off or something like that. But he called me in there and he said, kid, he said, I just want you to know that it's been a pleasure working with you. And this is my, my break, USWA, first few months there, whatever. And man, I'm going to tell you, it gives me cold chills when I say it right now, but it brought tears to my eyes, man. He hugged me and just told me how much he enjoyed working with me. It just meant the world to me coming from him.
Man, and that came from his heart, the way, because knowing Danny the way I know, he's not going to blow smoke up anybody's hindside, and so that was a heartfelt thank you from him. And, thanks for sharing that story, because Danny he's such a wonderful and giving person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And and you must have been very receptive, obviously, and he could tell that you Wolfie, that you cared, you loved wrestling, loved the business and every aspect of it, or he wouldn't have taken the time to want to work with you, teach you, and take the time to thank you like that. You know, so kudos to you too, man.
Yeah, it was a very nice feeling.
I had the pleasure of working with Danny a few times too, and of course that's how I learned. I'm learning to work also. But let me tell you a story about how I learned how to sell. I was trained. I don't know, about 3-4 months in. And when I first started training, Danny he trained like anybody else. Only did I get, I don't want to call it special treatment, but a little more attention from him after I passed the test, so to speak.
Right.
Because I went 6 months before he clued me in on anything. 6 months. And I'm sitting there going, man, this ain't right. I don't think something's not right here. This ain't like it is on TV. Something's not right here. And I'm talking about my private sessions and training.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was not fun. I'll tell you that right now. That was the test, trying to see how tough I was and if I really wanted to do it.
Right.
Because he said to his kid, show me how you sell someone hit punch in your stomach. So I said, okay. And I did what I did. He goes, oh, it ain't bad. And out of nowhere, out of nowhere, I didn't see it coming. He punched me in the stomach so hard. I mean, he had to have felt my spine. He hit me so hard. I went down. I think I crapped myself. I may have pissed myself. I don't know. And I went down and I was gasping for air and I could hardly breathe. And I tears my eyes like I couldn't breathe. He goes, now that's how you do it, kid. and he goes, now show me how you sell a hip to the back. I go, no. I got it. I understand what you mean now. So it took that one time for me to understand this is how you do it.
And those Danny Davis chops, man.
Ooh.
Those chops. And you know what's kind of funny is like Gypsy Joe broke me in, and he's known for, tough and chops and shit like that. So he breaks me in, and then my first big angle is with Danny Davis, who throws just as hard as Joe, just a different style. But
he'll split you open, man. He will split you open with one.
Oh yeah, he has. I promise.
He taught me how to chop too. You got to teach me how to do that, Uncle Danny. He goes, all right. And guess what? I got split open.
Yeah.
But I learned. It's okay. So that's
and he does the one, like some people can't do a good knife edge chop like that. It looks awkward. But he gets down, puts his legs into it, and drives through the hips there, and that's perfect.
Oh yeah. And some people will like with you and with off of you and go on and like you wave it. No.
Nope. It's coming in solid
into you. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know it's there.
Hey, so he pretty much he started the OVW basically. He wanted what you were just explaining about his wrestling school turned into what it is now. Did you ever see that coming? I didn't.
I knew. Well, he had a plan, and he wanted me to be a part of OVW. And once I passed the test and I started learning, and he took extra care in training me. And I knew he wanted to start Ohio Valley Wrestling. He wanted to do eventual run shows and have a TV program. So I knew that, but I never knew back then. I never knew that it would have turned into what it is today, because even what Al Snow has, even though Al Snow has continued, Danny's legacy with OVW, and now he's, making it his.
Yeah.
It's one of the longest running, other than Monday Night Raw, Wolf. It's the longest running consecutive TV show in wrestling today.
Wow.
It even beats SmackDown.
Didn't know that.
And I know, nobody, a lot of people don't know that. But, right now we've done 1,221 episodes, 1,221 episodes. And this week we have our Nightmare Rumble on this Saturday, which is you can catch it on, it'll be, this will air after. Dang it! This Saturday, buy on pay-per-view, Fight TV. So, there's a plug, but No, I never did think it would turn out to what it was. You know, it started out Nightmare, Danny Davis School of Professional Wrestling. Then he created Ohio Valley Wrestling. You know,
let me ask you this, because I don't know this part. Okay, so you go to WWE and your partner's Damaja. Y'all are the Basham brothers. And then it's like you disappeared from the face of the planet. And honestly, I think me and you know, whatever it was last week when I reached out to you, that's the first time I think I've seen you in since then. Where'd you go?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Wolf. You know, when we're young and dumb and full of, you know, all this wrestling stuff, you know, we're blinded to a lot of things, and then, you know, we're doing it because we love it, right?
Right.
And then you get someplace and you go somewhere, and you find out that it's not everything that was, you know, is cracked up to be. A lot more to it. Right. And I think what happened was with Danny, because after the WWE run, you know, we tried to go to TNA for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we had like a 3-month trial. You know, they tried us out for 90 days. We didn't quite make the cut for reasons. I don't really know all the reasons, but we just didn't fit the mold there. And then Danny said, "I'm done." And I'm like, well, "Okay, well, man, I'll hit you up. I'm gonna get some bookings and stuff." He goes, "No, I'm done." And you know, I had that look in his eye. We talked. I was like, "Oh my God, he ain't kidding. He's really done. He's finished." He had been heartbroken. He had been, you know, the other companies or whatever just sucked the wrestling life out of him, and he doesn't have anything to do with wrestling anymore. Period. And you know, I've reached out to him over the years to go do stuff, and he said, "No, man, I'm done. I'm done. You know, I'm done." I'm like, wow. Yeah,
he did that too. Yeah, because I've tried to get him on here, and I can't get in touch with him.
He won't do. Good luck. He won't even go out and do things with me, which, you know, he and I are really good buddies. Really good buddies. It's like you and Jamie were. You know, we were attached to hip. You know, because we were married to each other. We spent more time with each other. You know this. We spent more time with each other than we did our families, man. And we, you know, we knew everything about each other. You know, killed each other like brothers, and it was hard. It was hard. It was heartbreaking for me to know that, you know, it's something that because I know how much he loved, you know, wrestling, and, you know, you loved it too, or maybe you still do. Well, I don't know, but and then just to be crushed by going and working for some of these other companies, and it just draining all their life out of you, and just not being what you thought it was going to be, and it was always. It seemed like it was always an uphill battle with some of these bigger companies, and it just wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be. And then Danny said, "I'm done." With me, I kept going after TNA. I tried to work a little bit more. I did a lot of overseas work, and because I wanted to travel for a couple of years, and I wanted to see how that went. I did that, and then, man, I don't know if you. Sometimes I do these interviews, I just ramble, man. So if you have a question, stop me. But then the one thing that I was, the money, my money traveling was getting less and less. My bookings were getting less and less, and I was starting to come to a crossroads. I said, "Man, what am I going to do? I got to figure things out." And then I had a buddy. I was staying with a buddy over there in England, and he said, "Man, have you ever?" That's when the movie The Wrestler came out. Mickey Rourke.
Yep.
And I never wanted to watch it because I thought it was just Hollywood or people making fun of wrestling. I didn't know it was as good as it was. That was a good damn movie.
Yeah. You know, people ask me, you know, how close is that to the real thing? And I said, as far as movies go, that's pretty close. The only thing I say, they should have given him more of a drug problem.
You are absolutely correct, sir. And people don't clap for you when you come to the locker room. You know, "Hey, man, good match." They don't sit around and clap. It's okay. That's Hollywood. That's pretty good. But, you know, when I was watching that movie, I was sitting there, man, and it really, for some reason, Wolf, it hit me so hard, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm traveling down that road." I said, "I don't want to travel down that road. I don't want this to become me." And so it took Mickey Rourke, it took The Wrestler, that movie, to make me finally go, well, this is my last tour. I'm canceling everything else. I'm done. When I went back to come back to the States, I hung my boots up, put them in a crate where I have all my wrestling gear and all my stuff still there. Which I had to break back out for OVW. And hung it up, man, and I had landed a lucky break. I had a buddy who was in medical sales and said, "Hey, you cut promos like Hulk Hogan and all them guys," because that's all they use, Hulk Hogan, The Rock. You cut promos really well. You can talk to doctors and all that, and strong arm them, the bad stuff. Here, come work for us. I said, okay. I gave up wrestling. I had to get a grown-up job, Wolf.
Yeah. Those suck.
So that's what happened with me, man.
Yeah.
And I tell you, man, it's funny mentioning that movie, The Wrestler. I have a feeling I know which part of the movie you were probably sitting at a gimmick table with nobody there, maybe. That's the part of that movie. When I see that, I go, oh my God, that's a shitty fucking feeling right there.
Yeah.
That was the part. You nailed it. I can't believe you knew. I mean, that was it. I'm like,
trust me, man.
I'm not going to do this.
I think all of us that actually give a shit probably feel that way. You know, if you go somewhere, man, that's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
We care so much, and we have such passion, Wolf. And, and that's what makes things like that hit us so much harder than anybody else, because we care so much about what we did and what we've done. And we put our bodies on the line, put them through hell and back. I mean, can you get out of bed without making a noise?
Oh no, brother! I've got.
When you get up out of a chair, do you go? Oh!
God, I got a whole lot of issues right now. A whole lot,
bro. I'm there too. Mine are not as much as yours, so to speak, brother. And I hope everything works out good for you. But,
thank you.
Yeah, we a lot of issues here, and everything is starting to catch up with me. It's like. And it didn't happen until I turned 40. 50 years old now. 43 was when everything started really hitting me heavy. And I'm talking like joints, degenerative joints, lower back, neck. Yeah. So you got in.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South, and I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card, Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheep, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Clinton Charisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at stevebowtiebryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Getting engaged is a moment worth cherishing. A one-of-a-kind ring that you design at Blue Nile can help your love sparkle. Just choose your diamond and setting. When you've found the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Finding the right engagement ring can be nerve-wracking. At Blue Nile, you'll have the expert guidance needed and a diamond guarantee that ensures you're getting the highest quality at the best price. Cherish all of life's moments and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Doug, I'm going to dial it back just a little bit because we kind of went forward, but, I don't ever want to try to redirect Wolfie. I know he's a train of thought kind of guy, so I let him roll with it. So when it comes down to it, though, I remember, your time in the WWE. Now, I remember reading. Now, I'm a mark. I used to read all the dirt sheets and stuff, and I would read that part of the reason they broke you up is because they realized you guys weren't really brothers, and they said that, and this is, again, the dirt sheets, and they said, well, if I know this, the people will know this because everybody's being smart. I remember there was like the Major brothers, the Bashams, of course, you guys, then the Casey and Cassidy James, which is, our buddy Cassidy Riley and OVW. I know that Vince never really got tag teams, in my opinion. I mean, he almost ruined the Road Warriors in a sense, So, and how do you do that? That's a whole other topic. But do you remember anything about that being a brother tag team and then them realizing, oh, wait, if they know, we got to break this up?
No, the thing, how that came about is Vince, when he wants to do something, he does it, right? When Vince gets an idea, it's going to get done because it's his idea. Yeah. And I think they had, in the WWE, whenever you have a tag team there, he always breaks them up. I mean, right. Other than the Road Warriors, name some tag teams that stay together. Because I think Vince believes in one person is marketability, which I disagree. You got tag teams that have made tons of money, and tag teams are just as marketable as single entities. Vince always believes that you can take a guy who's over, another guy who's over, and you can put them together as a tag team. You have a tag team.
Right.
You can do that, but so what had happened? We had kind of ran our course with JBL and the Cabinet, and Vince was wanting to break us up. This was back when they had the lottery, the draft.
Yeah, the first early draft.
Vince, yep. Me and Danny were walking down the hallway, and I kind of got the heads up from JBL because JBL and Vince were pretty tight, and so was Undertaker and Vince. And I said his name for a reason. I'll tell you in a minute. Mm-hmm. And then Vince stopped me and Danny and said, "Boys, come here. Let me talk to you a second." And we go, "Oh shit, we're getting fired." And of course, that's the first thing you always say, right?
Yeah. So feel it in your stomach.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh God. I mean, when the boss isn't talking to you, that's when you think everything's okay.
Yeah.
Because we weren't really in any major storylines. We were just kind of sitting there and waiting for stuff to happen for us and trying to pitch ideas and stuff. So he comes up and he goes, "Boys, the draft's coming up. Danny, I'm going to send you to Raw. Doug, I'm going to keep you here at SmackDown. I want you boys to come up with something and present it to me." Mm-hmm. And then he, hit us both on the shoulders and said, "All right, go get it," or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Basic, get over. Yeah. And me and Danny looked at each other and we were like, well, fuck. And me and Danny were ready for singles, go and do the singles stuff too. We were ready. Mm-hmm. And then that was how that came about. I don't know if it was because people didn't believe, that we were brothers and all that. We're seeing through it. I think it's just Vince. Vince is ready to split a couple of guys up and let's see who gets over. Yeah. Now, what happened, here's a story. Nobody knows this story. Awesome. Like I said this story on the podcast, so you get an exclusive look. Nice. After, the reason I said Undertaker's name, and I knew that we were going to get split up, is Taker. We were at a house show, and and Taker kind of looked out for us. So let me back it up a little bit more for you. You guys remember that Tough Enough deal where where me and Danny had to guard the flag?
Yep.
That was a shoot. That was 100% shoot. And we were we weren't told, but we knew because we were just sitting on the shelf. They weren't doing anything with us on TV. We were just on the road going out there and because we could work. We could work and we had great matches and we could do what was asked of us. So we went out there they at least put us on the road and we were out there putting over whoever we needed to be put over. We didn't give two shits what we did because we got paid the same whether you win or lose, right?
Right.
And then we go on velocities and SmackDowns or whatever. They put people over, help advance our story. So we didn't give two shits. I was happy to be working, loved it, glad to be doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So this opportunity came up with the Tough Enough because a couple of weeks before, Kurt Angle had gotten embarrassed by Daniel Puder by getting almost tapped out. He got key locked. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
But
definitely.
In Kurt's defense, he had a neck injury, and that arm, he only had about 50% strength in that arm because there's no way 100% Kurt and 100% Puder would even got close to key locking him, just so you know, because Kurt was a legit badass.
Oh, yes.
And I got a story about that, too. I'll tell you about him and Brock, Kurt and Brock.
I've seen you two go before in the ring before the shows. I've seen them.
It's almost scary. It's awesome to watch. It's almost scary. Like, these two guys are some bad motherfuckers, man. You know what I mean? These guys are badass. And then Big Show did that body slam competition, and the guys were popping straight up and just buried and made him look bad. Made him look bad, you know.
I don't remember that.
It was. You don't remember that? Go back and watch it, and when Big Show slams them, they just pop right up, you know, and pop right up, and there's like, ooh. He's the Big Show is slamming the Tough Enough contestants, picking them up and body slamming them.
Right.
It was called the Body Slam Challenge. And, you know, the guys they didn't know they were not trained. And I think Big Show was supposed to go out there and slam them. I mean, throw them through the mat. And they didn't quite do that. They popped straight up. So, you know, a couple of our stars kind of got embarrassed a little bit. And then they did some other stuff with the women to try and tone it down. And then they had this Tough Enough thing, and they threw us in there. And we were not told, but it was kind of insinuated, if any of those kids get those flags, you're getting your notice.
Yeah. And y'all look like the damn Road Warriors out there, bro. Y'all are jacked to the gills, looking great too. I remember that. And that's where the Miz and Ryback and the Pewter Kid, all of them were in the ring. Anyway, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but that was, I'm getting fired up.
I appreciate that, man, because me and Danny, we were like, we knew that we had to be in great shape to get a look, and not just because we're not on TV or whatever. This is an opportunity for us to try and get us jacked and look as good as we can. So we look the part when needed. You know, we're ready.
Yeah.
And so we, right before, you know, and you've been there in WWE, Wolf, you know that sometimes before earlier in the day, you get in the ring, you kind of walk through your segments and stuff like that. Yeah. So we did that with the Tough Enough kids, so they knew what to do when they came down. And then they left, and Vince grabbed me and Danny were standing in the middle of the ring, right? And me and Danny are like, "Hey, boss," he goes, "Boys," and he goes, "You see that turnbuckle over that flag is going to be?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, What's that symbol on that turnbuckle stand for? Stands for, you know, World Wrestling Entertainment. He goes, "Yep, you're representing us tonight. Don't let him get that flag." He said, his exact words, "Short of killing the kids or putting any one of them in the hospital, do not let them get that flag." Those were his exact words.
Interesting.
And he left, and me and Danny looked at each other, and we said, "We just been put on notice."
Yeah. Hey, y'all fought like it too, man. Y'all fought like it too, dude. I mean, seriously. I remember when Ryback was in there, he was, he almost got free from you too, because I think one of you have his leg and then the other, you kind of get him tied up in the ropes. But he's, you know, that dude's stout, right? I mean, he is. And you guys are literally like, he just can't move. He's in a hold and he cannot move. It's awesome. I've watched that recently when Wolfie talked about you coming on. So I'm kind of...
Well, I mean, it was a straight up 100% shoot. And for anybody that doesn't know what a shoot is, I mean, it was real. There was nothing entertaining about it other than the fact people were watching and hoping those kids got past us.
Yeah.
And, you know, Danny, he got his orbital bone cracked. He had to set out for a bit. I had my guy hit in the head with his jaw, broke my tooth and cracked my jaw. So I was, you know, injuries just happens, right? But you know,
right,
stuff like that's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have pads and football helmets on. But so you know, we and it was, and those a couple of those kids were strong as hell. I mean, strong as hell. And then Wolfie, you've rolled around the ring and tried to clinch and cinch and hold somebody down or whatever. You know, we're not trained. We're not trained for UFC fighting, right? We're trained for entertaining.
Right.
Our stuff is for show mainly, and not for go like in the UFC. And dude, after a couple of them strong kids holding them down, exerting all that energy, my arms and Danny's arms, and we were like noodles, man. We were like, that's the only reason. The only reason Daniel Puder got as close as he was is because we were spent.
Yeah,
we were spent.
Hey, you know, while you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, and you ended up saying it basically, but isn't that the great thing? Like you're a tag team guy. I was a tag team guy. That's the great thing about having a partner, man. When the shit goes down, you got somebody else on your side, man.
Yeah.
Yes. I got his back and he's got mine. That's right. We had a plan.
Yeah, yeah. Was it the blonde kid that broke the orbital bone on Danny, I think? Because I remember it was a spot where you were working hard with that, because that dude's like Thor. It's like Thor versus the Bashams in the ring. And I see a spot earlier on when he comes up and he's rubbing his eye and he tells you something in the ring, and I think that was probably it. But anyway, yeah. Yeah. So, okay. I'm sorry. I've went off on this topic because I was hoping you were going to bring up the guard the flag match, because that was one of, I think, the highlights of y'all's time. And another thing though, is you guys got to work the Guerreros. How was that, man?
Oh my God. Yeah. Wolfie, did you ever get to wrestle Eddie?
Not Eddie. I've worked Chavo.
Oh, okay. Chavo is good. Don't get me wrong. He's good. Eddie, I mean no disrespect to Chavo, because Chavo is good.
Right.
But Eddie, never been in the ring with someone like that.
Wow.
Best you ever been in the ring with, huh?
One of the best I've ever been in the ring with. So good, so smooth. And you know how you traveled up and down the road with Danny and he taught you a lot?
Uh-huh.
You know, I've been in wrestling for 10 years, Wolf. It took me 10 years to make it to the WWE. So I thought by that time, I knew my craft. I was very confident what I could do, and I knew I could go in there and go with anybody.
Right.
I did not know I still had more to learn.
You didn't know there was another level.
There's a whole nother level of learning, you know. And me and Danny, we were married, just like you were to Danny. We were married to the Guerreros on loops, and them two guys taught us so much. And I got in there and worked with Eddie as much as I could, so I could learn and his feel and just listen to him and his psychology and his understanding, his way of thinking, and Chavo too. But a whole nother level of learning, right. And that coming from me, a guy who thought I can do this, I got this, I'm good. No, I was in high school playing pro basketball. You know what I mean?
So he talked about working one of the greatest of all time in Eddie Guerrero. You also worked what I thought might have been the most hyped yet never worked out. I mean, this dude, if you drew a wrestler on paper and I just said, Wolfie D, you're a great artist, draw this, and this, and you come up with Nathan Jones, man, tell me what happened. Talk about Nathan Jones. Why did he not work, in your opinion?
Well, as a guy who's been in the ring with Nathan Jones, it's scary. It's scary because when you look at him and you talk to him, you look at him in his eyes and you're like, is anybody in there? But a sweetheart of a guy, you know, and I considered him an acquaintance, you know, no issues, nothing whatsoever. But when I did a dark match with him and we were putting it together, and Sergeant Slaughter was our agent, and Sergeant came and said, Doug, you got Nathan, I need you to, you know, put him over and protect yourself. I was like, Sarge, what do you mean? What do you mean by the protect yourself? He goes, I got you. I'll take care of this. Okay. Nathan was wanting to do all this stuff. He wanted to have me on the outside of the ring, on the other side of the rope, on the apron. He wanted to grab me by my throat and then just toss me over his head and he'd take a bump. And I was like, I've never done that. Have you ever done that? And I was looking at Sarge, and Sergeant Slaughter put the kibosh on that. And I was like, oh my God, no.
Thanks, Sarge.
I hope he does not do that on his own if he just grabs it. But, you know, he was easy to work with, very intense, and a good guy. He just was just scary, I guess. Yeah. Guy going to snap.
You remember Jimmy Dotson? That was the Taker's friend. That was the security guy for WWE that passed away. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he was the guy with the backwards hat, the Kangol hat, maybe. Yeah,
and he was one man. Doug. He picked me up. This is before he started doing that. Before he got the easy gig, he tried wrestling. And man, you know, he was buddy with the Harris brothers and all that. He grabbed me. I'm sitting on my butt now, okay? I'm sitting on my butt. He grabs me by each side of the head, like by my ears, but in a like palms the side of my head, and just I didn't help him. He just picked me up and threw me like that. By the head.
Oh my God.
That son of a bitch was strong, dude.
Oh man.
Brother, that's when you take a bump, you roll out and just go straight to the back.
He looked like Animal.
Get up, you tie up with the referee.
Yeah.
Nathan Jones was just as strong, man. Cause he did those strongman competitions, stuff like that, and just stupid strong. And then why he didn't work out? I mean, we were on a tour, a long tour, and then we ended in Australia.
Yeah.
And he was just getting like really bad homesick. He wasn't having fun. He was really, when I saw him a lot, he would just stay to himself in a locker room and just sit there and not be very sociable, which again, scary.
Yeah.
And then when we went to get on the plane to come back home from Australia, he never got on the plane. He stayed.
Yeah, he dipped.
He just kind of walked away from it.
He's like, while we're here, I'll just stay home.
You go home, mate. I'll stay here. Oh, here's a story for you, Nathan Jones story, because, you know, I always, you know us, Wolfie, we're wrestlers. We have weird personalities, and sometimes we curse ourselves for having, you know, weird and different personalities than everybody else. So we're going on this trip, right? We're going on this trip across overseas, going to Australia. I think it was a long trip. We went to Hawaii first, then Japan, then Malaysia, then Australia. It was a long trip, a lot of flying, but I loved every minute of it. And I was making money, and I was working and doing my dream job. How many people get to do their dream job, Wolf?
Right.
Not many, so I had no complaints. But anyway, we're on a flight, and we're flying from, I think we left Hawaii and had to go land in Russia to refuel, which made no sense to me, but I'm not flying a plane. And I'm sitting next to Nathan. I take the opportunity. There's a seat open by Nathan. I said, I'm going to sit next to Nathan. And I said, hey, mate, can I sit by you? I said, sure, mate, have a seat. So, you know, and we just talked a little bit. And then it was getting dark, you know. I was like, oh, man, he popped something in his mouth. I go, oh, man, what's that? Is that a mint? He goes, no, mate, it's Ambien, mate. It helps you sleep. You want one? I go, oh, yeah. So I don't normally do that, but I did this time because I was on a plane, cramped up, and I wanted to go to sleep.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I pass out and fall asleep, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I wake up because my tray is slamming up and down, bam, 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 bam. And I wake up, and then I feel like, you know what it's like when you go, you're going down a hill on a roller coaster, and then it barrels up and it goes up, right. Like you come out of your seat and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, this plane was falling 400 and 500 feet at a time because of turbulence, because we were going through a blizzard, right?
Oh my God.
And the pilots were they said, we're lucky to keep that the wings on the plane. Wow. And I turn, I'm sitting next to Nathan Jones, right? And this plane, I'm like, are we gonna die? And I turn and look at Nathan. His eyes looked like they're about to pop out of his head. He was already pale white. He was even whiter. And he had a death grip. He was white knuckling the sides of that we layer on the armrest and just sitting there not saying a word. And I'm like, this guy's he's gonna snap. He's gonna snap. Oh my God. And I'm sitting by him. He's gonna snap. And then I just fell back to sleep.
Back to sleep.
That's all I remember.
Buddy, let me tell you something, man. I was coming into Nashville one night. It was on a late flight coming back home, and in Nashville, there was actually like tornadoes and stuff or whatever. So we had to hover up above the storm until it passed and all that stuff. Dude, and it was lightning, and the turbulence was so bad. I mean, it was the lightning was lighting up the plane, basically. Like you could just, see brightly all of a sudden in there. And man, the turbulence was so bad. I'm telling you, people were holding hands, praying, all kinds of mess. It was, and I don't like heights, and I really don't like flying that well, but, you don't have a choice when you're, working for Vince and stuff. So you just
doing what we do. Yep.
Yeah, it was terrifying, but I made sure
you feel my pain on that.
Yeah. I was like,
throw Nathan Jones sitting next to you in that.
Right. Yeah, seriously. Nathan, that's my arm, not the armrest.
Yeah, breaking my arm.
One thing I've got to ask you, because you've kind of gone full circle with things. You started OVW or USWA, OVW with Danny, but then now you're back working in OVW. One of the guys that I've seen that you've been kind of working with a little bit, and I want to get him on the show in the future. I've talked to Wolfie about it, is Jack Vaughn, man. I love that gimmick. I love those videos that he's doing, those little shorts where he's like indie wrestler versus pro wrestler. Have you seen those, Wolf?
Oh, the one where yes. I've seen that. I didn't know that was an OVW guy, though. Yes.
Yeah. Talk about Jack.
Brilliant. Well, I didn't know who Jack was until he came to OVW about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And then sitting back and kind of watching him work, he does remind me of an old school worker, the way he works in the ring and the way he talks, his promos and stuff. And he's got a really good mind on him too, and his thinking. And getting to know him even more. I really like the guy. He's the kind of guy I'd hang out with. There's we don't say that about a lot of guys in wrestling, Wolf, right? There's guys you would hang out with, and there's guys you would. Yes. He's one of those guys that I would hang out with. And the stuff he's doing on TikTok, this is something you got to find your niche. This is what's put him on the map.
Yeah.
He's been wrestling for quite a while. And who's Jack Vaughn? Now he's on OVW platform, being seen on Fight TV around the world, and now he's got these TikTok things coming out over.
Yeah.
He's over with me anyway.
I love the gimmick. I love the
brilliant.
Yeah, I love the lessons. He talks about throwing the clothesline properly instead of scraping your knuckles on the ceiling because the guy didn't get down far enough. I love all that. Wolfie knows I've complained about that from the start as far as current wrestling goes, telegraphing of moves and stuff. But anyway.
I like how you said, Doug, that we don't like to hang out with people. I was watching a stand-up comedian on Netflix, and he says, I'm like 50 years old right now. He said, I'm not taking applications for new friends, buddy. he was saying that he was somewhere like at a for his kid or something, and it was like the other dads and stuff. Hey, on Thursdays we go bowling and all this kind of shit.
Yeah, I'll take a rain check on that.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
Yeah, the application process is closed.
Yeah,
funny, man.
Yeah,
100%.
But Jack Vaughn's brilliant, man. My favorite one that he does on those TikTok things is a thigh slap.
Yeah, totally.
We get, when he gets in there, we go, and he gets in there and we'll mess around in the ring a little bit. And hey, where's the thigh slap? He'll be running ropes and then hit the ropes and I slap his thigh and just do silly stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
He's over with me.
Yeah, he's over with me too. I think he's going to do great. Yeah. So tell us, how is the health of OVW right now? How is it in your mind? Maybe I don't want to put you in a position where you don't want to say something negative, but out of 10, like 1 through 10, where would you say OVW is right now as it is?
I would say, and I'll give a very honest judging of it. I've seen a lot, and before I give the number, I've seen a lot of growth just in the 2 years that I've been here. I've seen a lot of growth. I'm not going to say it's because of me, not at all.
Sure.
But a lot of growth in the guys, their work, and one of our main issues, in which Al says this all the time, and I totally get it and understand it. We have to go to war with the army that we have.
Yeah.
And one of our main issues, and Al we know this, is our production. Sometimes, we have our gremlins, we have our issues, and we just have to fix it and keep moving forward. Yeah. Because we don't have these $1 million budgets like AEW and WWE and even like your MLW and stuff like that. You know, we have guys holding the camera that are training to be students. Yeah. We have guys up on the switchboard that are training to be students. Yeah. You know, and we don't always get the best camera angles. We miss stuff and we do the best we can. And, you know, if we had a professional production crew that came in and filmed everything and did everything for us, I think the OVW would go from about a 6.5 to a 7 to a 10.
Okay. That's awesome.
You know, I think if we can get, if our production, we can just fix some of those issues we have, because we have sound issues. Now, sometimes that's not always on us. That's on the Fight TV or the WBNA. They have technical issues too. Yeah. And but in a perfect world, man, if we could have that, because it's frustrating when you're in the back and I'm on the headset and shit just doesn't go right, and you're like, God damn, that's not. What do you? I'm sitting here in the gorilla. I'm yelling at people upstairs. They can't hear me, obviously, but you know, I'm sitting there frustrated because we care and it's passionate. I want it to be perfect, and it's not. Right. Like, Al just sits there he sits there too. His hands are in his head, and he's shaking his head. He goes, "Why do we even have production meetings? The two of us here that know what's going on." So that's where we are, man. I think, and that's a super honest my super honest evaluation. But I'm glad to be here in OVW. And you said full circle, and it is full circle. I started here, and this is where I'll end.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It is, dude. It is. I agree.
I just want to say thank you for coming on, Doug, man. It's been great talking to you, man. I could sit here and you could probably talk for the next, 3 hours or something. And I'd love to. Yeah. But unfortunately, I need to go get my ticker checked at the cardiologist. And I'm going to have to get going here. But thank you, man. Do you have any social media stuff you want the people to know about? Any merch?
Yes, absolutely. I do. I'm so glad you let me get this out on the airwaves, man, because I have just recently found that if you're going to do this and you want to stay relevant or up with the people, you got to get on the gram. You got to get on the Instagram. So I have just recently got on the Instagram. I'm posting stuff. I'm trying to be entertaining. I'm trying to give little tidbits about this and that and people who I am at home and my personality. You can find me. It's the Doug Basham. You know, I guess I don't know. Is that how you find people on Instagram? See, find people.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, the Doug Basham. And then of course I'm on Facebook too. You can hit me up on Facebook. I'm just trying to keep people updated with what I'm doing. Entertain the troops. And with that being said, you can watch. You can sometimes, and I've even stepped back in the ring, Wolf. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was just getting ready to tell you, man. You look great, by the way. I know I sent you that message, and I told you that, but just on the air, I'd like to. You look great, man. Better than I've ever seen you look. So.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And it's not easy at 50, bro.
I hear you, buddy. I just turned 49.
I know you said 49. You said, wait, you're older than me? I'm like,
yeah.
No, I thought I was way older than you.
I feel like I was in the business fucking 10 years before you came along.
You were in the business 10 years before I came along.
How old were you? What year was that? What year was that you started?
I started in 92, I believe. So when I first stepped into the ring.
Okay. I got a few years on you when it comes to that.
Yeah.
All right, Doug. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone out there listening to us. Y'all are doing great for us. We're going to come back in just a moment with Jimmy's favorite part of the show.
Current affairs. DJ, hit the music.
It's a current affair. It's a current affair. Love it in color. It's a current affair. Love it in color.
All right, we are back with current affairs, and today we've got some good ones, Wolfie D. Now, I know I've said in the past, current affairs can get a little thin, but then they all happen all at once. So the biggest one of the bigger ones I'm going to start with was Hacksaw Jim Duggan handled, might I add, very thoroughly a home invader with his, Dirty Harry reenactment with his 44 Magnum. And what do you think about Can you imagine, not to say that you would ever break in a home, but can you imagine breaking in a home or coming in a home and seeing Hacksaw Jim Duggan there, and you're like, nope.
Especially if you knew who it was.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But you got to think on that too. Could he have been targeted? And the person knew, his health, and he's not the Hacksaw of the 1980s. Maybe they thought I could whoop him, but they didn't know they was going to look down the barrel, did they?
No, they didn't. And it was a weird story, man. It was like the dude was running from a neighbor, and he came into Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like, it was almost like a non-home invasion. And that's the way.
Because I read it, I skimmed over it or something. And just for the people that are listening that don't know the full story, go ahead and tell them what happened.
Yeah, okay. So basically what he said is he lives on a long stretch of dirt road, probably out in the country of South Carolina. And he says there's a few homes down from him, and that apparently there was a dispute at the furthest home away, and the guy is literally running from home to home, and he was the only house with their lights on. He had Christmas lights on and all this stuff, and the guy starts beating on the door, and Hacksaw's like, what's up, and he's beating on the door, and what ends up happening is he basically comes in the home, and he's like, help me, these guys are going to kill me or whatever. And I don't know if it was drugs, money, probably a little of both from what he was running from. And Hacksaw basically, he put aside the 2x4 and brought out the 4x4, as in 44 Magnum. And he said he actually kind of felt bad for the guy once he got the story and stuff. So, Anyway, I don't know, man, but interesting stuff. I guess you're right. If you would have, can you imagine going in on his prime, dude? He would have beat you all over that, But,
are you feeling lucky, punk?
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God.
And then putting his tongue like that while he's looking at you.
His little thumb in his waist.
That's funny.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, y'all don't home invade Hacksaw. It's not going. Yeah, it's not going to work out good for you if you invade Hacksaw. Don't home invade, period. Let's just say that. How about just stop all that shit?
One of the most fucked up things. That and carjacking, I just feel is like, crime in general, but just shit like that, man, is so personal. And it's like, damn, can I not feel safe in my own fucking home or my own? Yeah, dude, they'll steal them at the gas tank. They'll have like somebody pumping the gas. Yeah, and you leave, especially with these keyless car starts now, where you don't have to have a key. Yeah, it's nuts, man. Anytime you're in the city, I'm always, I got a whole other story about that. Something happened to me and Michelle down in Charlotte. It's not cool, but anyway, we'll talk about that on another show. So there is a lot there to talk about today. So the other one on the we'll talk about that on the top 10 carjacking show.
Top 10 carjacking shows. Oh man, I only have one so far. So actually I have two. Oh my God, we'll get into that. All right. So, anyway, on a somber note, Don West of TNA announcing fame and Ken Griffey Jr. trading card fame has passed away at 59 of lymphoma, man. Talk a little bit about Don.
Don was just super, super cool, man. I obviously met him at TNA. They told me he was a home shopping guy. And, I'd never watched that, so I didn't know really who he was, but got to know him. He actually, when I lived in Nashville, he didn't live too far from me. So, I'd been out and had a few drinks with him before at a local little in-between spot of us there. Yeah. And, man, I tell you, man, Tanae also, but, man, Don West, and I always thanked him for this, man. He used to put me over, and I think like Mike Tanae's seen a lot of people and called a lot of shit, and this was new to Don. And so it came away so genuine the way he would talk about a person or whatever. And he put me over as just being so scary and so crazy and so, just he would even one time he's like, I think this Slash is like the most improved guy on the roster. Just he always put me over with his commentary, man, and I really appreciate it. And then people don't realize, man, along with the referees and other things, the commentators, can make you or break you sometimes. So definitely. I was always grateful to him for that, and it's I'm sorry to hear of his passing.
Yeah, man. And dude, that feels good too when somebody like that is vouching for you on that level. And I know what you mean, because he's kind of a new guy. He's getting his feet wet. He doesn't necessarily know everyone per se.
Right.
And you're right. It comes across as a straight up genuine thing. Whether if somebody knows they're just trying to do their job to get themselves over, and they'll say that about anybody versus, that case right there. That's awesome, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rest in peace, brother Don. All right, so the next one, this is the third of the four, and the fourth is the biggest, but the third is pretty big. Mandy Rose, WWE NXT WWE superstar Mandy Rose, was recently fired at the very beginning of the year, or at the end of last 2022, because of her fan time or OnlyFans account. It's something, it's not OnlyFans, but it's something very similar. And basically on that, she was in a swimming pool swimming around, and apparently she was topless, and there was some kind of ethics violation in her contract, essentially, where she was, some sort of, it was a contract issue where she was in breach of contract for doing something like that is a breach of. So here's the thing, man. I get both sides, but that kind of sucks because, I mean,
it absolutely does suck. And like you just said, I get both sides too. And I think, didn't it have something to do with like, I don't know why Mattel is popping into my head. I think I saw that name somewhere. And, the big companies like that, they have ties with sponsors and people that make games and the figures and all that shit. So you got to kind of appease them. I also wonder if she did it not knowing. Maybe firing was a bit harsh. But damn, man, I mean, I saw some numbers also too, and I don't know this for sure, but maybe the girls aren't making as much as the guys at the same kind of level or whatever.
Right.
And you can make that money on there, whatever. This is 2023 now.
Yeah.
And, if you're going to tell me, because I saw this on the news the other day, you going to tell me that a high school, I think it was a high school in Canada, can have a man, born a man, dressing like a woman with absolutely oversized cartoonish boobs, teaching your kids shop, and then the kids aren't allowed to basically like laugh or take pictures, I saw. And so it's created this whole thing. That's okay, but a beautiful chick can't expose her titties on a website or whatever that's a paid site that someone would have to pay to see.
Yeah.
These kids have to pay to go see this shit.
Right.
That's just take on that. We don't like to get too political and shit like that on here, but people have absolutely lost their fucking minds.
Yeah, they're out of their damn minds. You're exactly right. It's a weird world, but I'll just give you these examples because I'm going to kind of divert the conversation here a little bit.
Yeah.
Sable, Sunny, China,
yes,
Terry Runnels, Tori Wilson, Stacy Keebler, Trish Stratus. What do they all have in common?
Yeah, Playboy.
They pose nude, and I'm talking full-on nude for Playboy.
Yeah.
Under the guy, it was like a deal for the women back in the day in WWE.
Right.
Hey, part of the deal is you're in Playboy. Right. Now, homegirl's making a little money on the side because I think it's like $500 a year is what she's making versus, somebody like, now a lot of people are like, my God, but you guys don't understand all the costs that it comes with that too. They're not necessarily, you're getting your rental cars, your rooms and all that. And you're playing.
Right.
I don't know what the health insurance deal is and stuff, but there's a lot of other costs that are not included with being a WWE superstar. Now, again, you're still
and also not just that is that you get hurt, you're done. They're not paying you no more.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so there you go. So anyway, well, the cool thing, and I think she's ended up the winner of this. Now, again, if she continues it, it's a great thing, but she made $1 million in December.
I think she'd be a fool not to continue it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. You got to choose that one. She'll end up somewhere. AEW will pick her up. They're going to, they need women in their division anyway, so it'll work out. So, all right. So speaking of AEW, this is the big one, and I can't tell if it's fact, fiction, or something in between, but there is a big deal going on between Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett, and a wrestler named Max Caster. So basically, it all started out with another team that kind of ripped off PG-13. They're called The Acclaimed, and they come out rapping. And this kid's actually good, man. He's got some flow. He always writes something about his opponent or what he's about to do. He's like peeing news if the guy could rap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he comes out and he's talking about Kurt. And like they're working against Jeff and Jay Lethal. And he's like, Jeff and Kurt and Karen and all this stuff. Kurt comes on there and he's like, you know, this, and this. He's playing into it on the Twitter account. Then Karen goes in and says, well, Kurt, I can name Kelly and all these other women you cheated on me with and stuff. And this is all allegedly. We don't know if it's a real or fact. But here's what Jeff said on his podcast, because I'm going to shut up and let you talk. But this is what Jeff said. So the whole that I'm stealing Kurt Angle's wife, that is kind of a generation removed, I want to kind of set the record straight here. And this is completely with all due respect. I've kept my mouth shut for 10 or 12 years for two reasons. Kyra Angle and Cody Angle. They're old enough now. They know the absolute truth. But me stealing Kurt's wife is the furthest thing from the truth. The fact of the matter is that when we hired Kurt Angle, and I say we, me and Dixie Carter, because she's part of the story, Kurt and Karen were legally separated. They weren't living under the same roof. Enough is enough. We're 13 years removed from this, and I'm sure Kurt is. I would assume he's sick and tired of it because he tweeted and tried to get in AEW business. And he tweeted, and that's why I said I wanted to address this. He tweeted, and when you got to use my name to get your heat after 12 years, Kurt Angle, if you think I need your name to get heat after 12 years, you're delusional, Kurt. I am sick and tired of my wife having to go through this pain. I'm literally sick of it. Conrad, he was talking to Conrad on his show. You know the names. I'm not going to say the names. I respect that. The past is the past. Look, there's a lot of disasters. Marriages, it happens all the time. But for Max Caster to pour gasoline on my wife, I'm done with that. I am so done with that. And I'm not done because everybody's going to say, wait a minute, y'all work the storyline and this and that. Yeah, here's the real situation. Yeah, I got sent home and the whole world, including Max Caster, thinks, oh yeah, you got sent home because of that whole disaster and Bubba the Love Sponge or whatever that was. No, the fact of the matter is Dixie Carter, for the third time, pulled a power play. She tried the first one during my wife's illness. The second one was about 12 months later. The third one was during this, and I gave her the rope to hang me. She went for her father, and oh, we can't have this. She didn't give two shits about Kurt Angle. She wanted the power play to run the tail. Oh, yeah, and you know what? That's exactly what happened. And in 24 months, she put the company in a financial death spiral. So her power player put essentially out of the business. Vince Russo's absolutely a part of this. Vince's whole plan was to go along with it. He knew damn well the Kurt and Karen situation. He knew absolutely all of it. He sat on the sidelines just like Kurt was. We're going to let Jeff sit home. Guess what? Jeff's just trying to put his life back together. But let him sit home because Vince Russo's plan was, I'll get Jeff out and I can write the show by myself. Little did she know, Dixie Carter and I was at the original lunch, hired Hulk Hogan. So then Vince Russo had to answer to Hulk. Then Eric, Bruce was a part of that equation. The running joke for 6 months in 2010 was, well, Russo tried his power play along with Dixie, but look what happened to him now. I'm absolutely sick of the BS of my wife. I'm defending my wife. I'm absolutely sick of all the crap. Max Caster, you crossed the line, pal. You have no idea the can of worms you've opened. None. A receipt is coming Wednesday. I assure you that. I mean, dude, he just here says, you're damn right I'm 55. What 55-year-old can get hired? I look better than you today at 55 than you'll ever look in your life. I damn sure work better, but that ain't saying much. I'm going to get to the fraud you are in a minute, but you want to talk about how me being relevant, global force gold. Hey, I've made a lot of screw ups. It was a marketing initiative and I've paid well for a startup company. Maybe the presentation sucked, but you want to take pot shots a young punk like you, Max? Are you out of your freaking mind? I mean, you think doing the tweets and doing the posts and doing the raps and all that BS. Max, I assure you, pal, you have no idea what you've done. None. Yeah. So now I've cleared it all up. Anyway, he went off.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those things where, personal angles draw money.
Yeah.
I don't know if this kid, if this was intended for him to say that. But at the same time, I think so many of the young guys basically believe their own gimmick.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like, that I don't like, the listeners know I don't like all the Twitter banter back and forth. I think save it for the show, because nobody really gives a fuck. And the only people that are listening to that or looking that up are the diehard fans, not the mainstream fans. They don't have any idea that any of this is going on. Right. But EW caters to those type of people, so you got to think about that end of it. And it's just hard to say unless you're, because it's kind of. I think I've said this to you before. I think some of this Twitter shit is a new way of cutting a promo off the show, but I don't like it. But I do think it's a way of working angles, right? By way of social media. So I don't, knowing Jeff, man, I think it's probably a work, because I don't think that, first of all, I feel like Jeff would have enough stroke and enough respect that if that's the case, man, that dude would have just been gone.
Right.
They'd have fired him, you know, if it was that big fucking deal. And for him to say, you got an ass whooping coming.
Right.
Okay, where's that going to be? In the ring where you're working at? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I feel like it's an angle. But unless he beats him up on the street somewhere for a shoot. But I don't see that happening either. I just don't see Jeff bringing his family into the mix unless it was a work. I mean, he said his wife, he said the kids' names, all that shit. And, if Kurt comes in, we'll know it's a work.
Totally.
Or it could be, like I said, a shoot turned work.
Right. Partly truth, partly fiction kind of deal.
Yes.
And I mean, I agree with you, man. The one thing I'll say is it almost veered left because Kurt tweeted something about it. And it's almost like, I don't know if Jeff was like, hey, Kurt, shoot something out about this. Yeah. I don't know how tight they are, if they even talk or whatever. But I don't know. Jeff had a really good gimmick going with his, and it's all about podcast numbers and the thing is, you and I, our show sits around the 50 mark, 40 to 50 mark on average. And that's kind of where the normal shows are. The Conrad shows basically all fight for the top spot. And so Jeff's shows shot up high whenever the Ric Flair's last match deal was going on, and he kind of did a half-worked shoot show where he and Conrad were kind of arguing with each other a lot, and Conrad's going to take Ric's side, and Jeff's going to work and do his side and stuff. And I almost feel like it's part of a podcast kind of gimmick, and it's like a two-part thing. He's trying to get his podcast to shoot up number one, so people are listening to it.
Right.
And Conrad is known for that. And honestly, it's funny that something that you think is more of a shoot type deal in a podcast interview, they're now trying to work spots in the podcast now too.
Right.
So I don't know, but anyway, I mean, obviously, I want us to be in the top 10. We don't have any kind of financial backing. We do rely on listens and stuff like that. Y'all to download the show, and we greatly appreciate that. Keep that up. We thank y'all so much on that. But with that being said, I think you're right. I think it's more angle than shoot, but at the same time, maybe there's just a little bit of truth in there to make it, believable.
I think, and this is where I'm gonna veer just a second and say thank you, because I don't think that the people really understand, like, to be in that 50 spot is pretty damn good, because they only rank 200 out of thousands. So
thousands, literal.
To hold that spot without the financial power that some of the bigger names have behind them, man, that says a lot about our listeners and I guess the job that me and you were doing at this. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, and I've said it before, brother, it's not like I necessarily was like throwing darts at a board and said, hey, I want to start a podcast with a wrestler, I had the idea to start this with you, and I just never enacted it, probably for like a year. And I wish I would have started earlier, but maybe it wouldn't have worked the same way. I can't question that. But, you know, I'm happy where we are, but I'm obviously always striving for more. So at the same time, we do thank y'all so much for listening to the show. It really means a lot when y'all are interactive with us too, and you let us know, hey, I enjoyed this, or hey, you know, and you know what's cool, man?
Or hey, like, how the hell did you miss a pile driver?
Yeah. Or people even said this, and this should make you feel good, Wolfie D. Somebody posted, I think Bob posted, he said, hey, it was a good show, but it wasn't the same without Wolfie D. And we all know that. Everybody, you know, it does. It means a lot to hear that, because obviously the A team is right here. You know, Randy helped us out because that's the kind of guy Randy is. And that show's numbers are doing exactly what we expected on them. Not a drop in anything. And we appreciate that. But we both know that.
The A team here has the Titans mentality. When a man goes down, the next man steps up.
The next man, we brought Josh Dobbs in. Exactly. But anyway, yeah, that's it for current affairs, man. I know I went a little long on that one, but I wanted to talk about the Jeff Kurt deal. Yeah. So, but anyway, Wolfie, take us out, brother.
All right. Thanks again. Thanks to Doug Basham and all the listeners. And once again, tune in next week for Live and in Color with Wolfie D and his co-host, Jimmy across the street.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
That's right, it's the Talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Join me, Gene Jackson, for the Jackson Interaction Podcast, where I'll be doing one-on-one interviews with people from the world of professional wrestling, as well as stand-up comedy. You can get them anywhere podcasts are available in both video and audio form, but you can find them all at genejacksonpod.com.
This is your rock star ring announcer, Aaron Camaro. I'm a man who believes the two greatest art forms ever created are professional wrestling and heavy rock music. So when I'm not hosting the best parties that also happen to be live professional wrestling shows, I'm hosting the Decibel Geek Podcast. Decibel Geek is a weekly podcast that features discussions of all things rock. We're talking the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, Kiss, Ozzy, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Alice in Chains, Pantera, and everything in between. Plus, we'll turn you on to new bands from today that have the same spirit and style that the legends do. Decibel Geek is hosted by myself, along with Rockin' Pod founder Chris Sinzak, and each week you'll get interviews with famous musicians and industry insiders, along with informative, entertaining, humorous, and insightful discussions, and most importantly, a passion for the music. So if you love to rock out as much as I do, then this is your invitation to the greatest rock and roll party in all of podcasting. It's Decibel Geek, and it's available right now on all major podcast platforms. Oh yeah.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at WarrenWolf13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color. Don't rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are, without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hop. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. You got a cap for your dome. You got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.